Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the video. The Ransom of Red Chief was returned by O. Henry. So I hope you finished watching part 1 where we understood this much of the chapter. Today we are going to understand the next page, this much. So let's take a look at the summary of what we learned in part 1. We understood that there are two kidnappers, Bill Driscoll and the narrator here, whose name is Sam. Right here, you can understand that. And they wanted to pull off a fraudulent scheme. So they selected their victim as the only child of a prominent citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. And he was a boy of age 10 with freckles. But here, instead of the kidnappers terrorizing this victim, the victim was doing that to the kidnappers. So that's what we understand in this much of the story. So let's continue from here. What are you getting up so soon for, Sam asked Bill. Me, said I. Oh, I got a kind of a pain in my shoulder. I thought sitting up would rest it. You're a liar, said Bill. You're afraid. You were to be burnt at sunrise, and you're afraid he'd do it. And he would too if he could find a match. Ain't it awful, Sam? Do you think anybody will pay out money to get a little imp like that back home? So here, when Sam says, oh, I got a kind of a pain in my shoulder, I thought sitting up would rest it, the other kidnapper, who is Bill, understands that he is lying and he calls him a liar. So Bill also knows that he was to be burnt at the sunrise, and the narrator is afraid that the victim will do it, right? So this is what it means. An imp is a mischievous child. Sure, said I, a rowdy kid like that is just the kind that parents dote on. But we have got to fix up some plan about the ransom. Tonight, we must get a message to his father demanding the $2,000 for his return. Dote on is fond of, extremely fond of. But here, they thought that they couldn't stay with this victim anymore and they should get the ransom soon. So the two kidnappers got paper and pencil and worked on the letter, while Red Chief, who is the victim, with a blanket wrapped around him, strutted up and down, guarding the mouth of the cave. So you can find a few word meanings over here. Kindly take a look at that. So the two kidnappers got paper and pencil and began working on the letter that they're going to give to the victim's father. Let's read through that. Ebenezer Dorset-esque. We have your boy concealed in a place far from Summit. It is useless for you or the most skillful detectives to attempt to find him. Absolutely, the only terms on which you can have him restored to you are these. We demand $1,500 in large bills for his return. The money to be left at midnight tonight at the same spot and in the same box as your reply hereinafter described. If you agree to these terms, send your answer in writing by a solitary messenger tonight at 8:30 p.m. At the bottom of the fence post opposite to third tree of Poplar Cove will be found a small pasteboard box. The messenger will place the answer in this box and return immediately to Summit. If you attempt any treachery or fail to comply with our demand as stated, you will never see your boy again. If you pay the money as demanded, he will be returned to you safe and well within 3 hours. These terms are final, and if you do not accede to them, no further communication will be attempted. Two desperate men. So here, this is their letter that they have written to his father, right? I hope I need not explain this, but I will try a bit of this. So they try to tell the victim's father that they have him concealed in a far place from Summit. It is just a distance of 2 miles. It is useless for you or the most skillful detectives to attempt to find him. So there are only few terms on which he can have him restored. They require $1,500 in large bills, and it should be placed in the third tree of Poplar Cove, and they will give the child back to him. I addressed this letter to Dorset and put it in my pocket. As I was about to start, the kid came up to me and said, "Aw, Snake Eye, I want to play the Black Scout. Mr. Bill will play with you. What kind of game is it? Said I. I am the Black Scout, said Red Chief, and I have to ride to the stockade to warn the settlers that the Red Indians are coming. I'm tired of playing Red Indian myself. I want to be the Black Scout. All right, said I. It sounds harmless to me. I guess Mr. Bill will help you foil the pesky savages. What am I to do? Said Bill, looking at the kid suspiciously. You are the horse, said Black Scout. Get down on your hands and knees. How can I ride to the stockade without a horse? So here, this victim, Red Chief, is very bored of playing Red Chief all on his own. So he wants to play Black Scout. So Sam, who is the narrator here, says, Mr. Bill will play with you. What kind of game is it? So the Red Chief replies, I am the Black Scout and I have to ride to the stockade to warn the settlers that the Red Indians are coming. I'm tired of playing Red Indian myself. I want to be the Black Scout. Here, horse, the meaning of horse is horse, right? So he wants the Bill, who is another kidnapper, to be a horse. So he says, you are the horse. Get down on your hands and knees. How can I ride to the stockade without a horse? So let's read on. Bill got down on all his fours and a look came in his eyes like a rabbit's when you catch it in a trap. I walked over to Poplar Cove and sat around the post office. I heard one whiskerando say that Summit was all upset on account of Ebenezer Dorset's boy having been lost or stolen. That was all I wanted to know. I posted my letter surreptitiously and came away. So here he got to know, he heard a whiskerando say that Summit was all upset on account of Ebenezer Dorset's boy having been stolen or lost. It can be anything. So that was all he wanted to know. He was happy about that. When I got back to the cave, Bill and the boy were not to be found. He explored the vicinity of the cave, but there was no response. So when the narrator went back to the cave, he did not find the Red Chief or Bill. And he also called out for them, but there was no response. In about half an hour, I heard the bushes rustle and Bill wobbled out of the little glade in front of the cave. Behind him was the kid, stepping softly like a scout with a broad grin on his face. Bill stopped, took off his hat and wiped his face with a red handkerchief. The kid stopped about 8 feet behind him. Sam, said Bill, I suppose you think I'm a renegade, but I couldn't help it. The boy is gone. I have sent him home. All is off. So can you tell me what you understand by reading these 2 paragraphs? You're right. Bill does not know that the child here is behind him because he thinks that he has sent the boy off. But yes, Sam knows that the kid is behind Bill and renegade means traitor. So we'll be understanding that in the coming paragraphs. What is the trouble, Bill? I asked him. I was roared, said Bill, the 90 miles to the stockade, not barring an inch. And then for an hour, I had to try to explain to him how a road can run both ways and what makes the grass green. I tell you, Sam, a human can only stand so much. I took him by the neck of his clothes and dragged him down to the mountain. On the way, he kicked my legs black and blue from the knees down. But he's gone home. I showed him the road to Summit. I'm sorry we lose the ransom, but it was either that or Bill Driscoll to the madhouse. So here Bill explains that the Red Chief had to make him walk 90 miles to the stockade and also make him explain that how the grass is green and how a road can run both ways. And a human can only stand so much. So this is what Bill does. And so he took him by the neck of his clothes and showed him the way back to Summit. So he says that, I'm sorry we lose the ransom, but it was either that or Bill Driscoll to the madhouse. But here, the child does not want to go home, right? So he has come back behind him, but the child is not trying to show Bill that he's behind. Bill was puffing and blowing, but there was a look of ineffable peace and growing content on his face. So he was relieving that fact that the child is gone. Bill, said I, there isn't any heart disease in your family, is there? No, said Bill, nothing chronic except malaria and accidents. Why? So ineffable, you'll get the meaning here, beyond description. And chronic is a long term. Nothing long-term except malaria and accidents. Why? Then you might turn around you, said I, and have a look behind you. So this is what Bill tells. Bill turned and saw the boy and lost his complexion and sat down plump on the ground and began to pluck aimlessly at grass and little sticks. So he was very shocked to find the boy again behind him because he thought the boy had gone home. For an hour, I was afraid for his mind. And then I told him that my scheme was to put the whole job through immediately, and we would get the ransom and be off with it by midnight if Dorset fell in with our proposition. So here, Sam did not think he's a renegade. He understood the whole matter, and they think they're going to get their ransom at midnight, right? So this is what it is all about. So we are going to stop here. Watch part 3 of this video if you want to understand the continuation of it. Thank you.